You won't believe what unfolded inside this courtroom. A powerful judge, once feared and untouchable, humiliated a seasoned attorney in open court. But just minutes later, the tables turned dramatically, and he found himself in handcuffs. What led to this stunning moment will leave you speechless. Jasmine Crockett was no stranger to high-pressure battles. Before becoming a congresswoman, she had spent years fighting for justice in the courtroom. First as a criminal defense attorney, standing up for those who couldn't afford a voice, and later as a fierce advocate in politics. But nothing had prepared her for what she was about to face. The courtroom she entered that morning belonged to Judge Howard Gates, a man infamous for his sharp tongue, erratic rulings, and veiled bias. The case she brought wasn't just another file, it was a powder keg. A high-profile corruption case involving a wealthy real estate developer with deep ties to powerful political circles. The accusations were damning, siphoning state funds into private ventures, and Jasmine had been appointed special prosecutor to bring the truth to light. But even before she could say a word, the atmosphere turned hostile. Judge Gates barely acknowledged her as she approached the prosecution table. He thumbed through a file slowly, deliberately, letting silence spread, a silence that carried weight. When he finally spoke, his words dripped with disdain. "Miss Crockett, I trust you've brought something worthwhile, or shall we skip to the part where you waste my time with your theatrics?" A few chuckles came from the back, mostly from the defense team, but Jasmine, unshaken, stood tall. "Your Honor, the evidence speaks for itself. This case involves the misuse of taxpayer money. My job is to present the facts clearly and accurately." Judge Gates leaned back, feigning boredom. "Taxpayer money, huh? That's never been the basis for baseless accusations before, right?" Jasmine's jaw tightened, but she kept her tone level. "With all due respect, Your Honor, I wouldn't call charges of corruption and fraud baseless." Their eyes met, his cold and calculated, hers steady and unwavering. But before she could continue, he cut her off again. "Miss Crockett, spare me the lectures. Get to the point. I don't have time to indulge your progressive fantasies." A few murmurs stirred in the gallery, something was off, and everyone could feel it. This wasn't just a judge being tough, this felt personal. Jasmine remained composed. She picked up a folder and opened it. "Your Honor, I'd like to direct the court's attention to Exhibit A. These financial records clearly show." "Do you always bury people in paperwork, Miss Crockett?" he snapped. "Or is this just your way of compensating for a lack of real arguments?" The room tensed. The defense attorney smirked again, but Jasmine didn't flinch. She simply paused, then placed the folder down and clasped her hands. "Your Honor," she said calmly, "if you prefer to keep this personal, I'm happy to request a recess to address any professional concerns you may have." It was a subtle pushback, polite but firm. A quiet signal, "I won't be intimidated." Judge Gates smirked. "Oh, I don't have concerns, Miss Crockett. I just see a weak case in front of me." Now the gallery truly reacted, gasps, whispers, raised eyebrows. Judges were expected to be impartial, but this was blatant. Jasmine didn't raise her voice. She simply pressed forward. "Then I suppose we should let the evidence do the talking." She presented her next document, financial data showing clear discrepancies in project funding, but again, Gates interrupted. "I hate to interrupt your presentation, truly I do, but I think we've seen enough numbers for one day." "Your Honor," she replied, "these numbers are the foundation of the case." "Sure," he scoffed, "and yet I see nothing that justifies wasting this court's time." It was clear now, he wasn't just dismissive. He was determined to kill the case before it even began. Jasmine reached for the next page in her file. "Your Honor, I'd like to submit a motion." "Denied," he interjected. She looked up, surprised. "I haven't even stated the motion, and yet I already know it's going nowhere." The tension in the room reached a boiling point. People were no longer just watching, they were feeling it. Something was wrong, and Jasmine knew it. Judge Gates wasn't just hostile, he was protecting something, but he didn't know that she was as well. "Very well," she said, "then let's proceed." She projected a document, a contract between the developer and the city planning department, but then came the twist. She placed another document on the screen, an internal ledger showing that the developer received nearly double the approved budget. Then, a third document, a signature. Judge Howard Gates. The courtroom gasped. Jasmine turned to him calmly. Your Honor, would you care to explain why your signature appears on an unauthorized financial transaction involving the defendant? For the first time, Judge Gates didn't respond. His face was unreadable. That document is inadmissible, he said quietly. How so? Jasmine asked. It was obtained improperly. Your Honor, it was subpoenaed by my office, she replied. Then it was mishandled. It won't be considered. But the damage was done, everyone in the room had seen it, the jury, the bailiff, the reporters. No one could unsee what had just happened. Jasmine didn't stop. This is a public hearing. The media is here. Everyone just witnessed you dismiss key evidence without justification. That's enough, Miss Crockett, he snapped. But Jasmine wasn't finished. She calmly reached into her briefcase, pulled out a small recorder, and pressed play. A voice echoed through the courtroom, take care of it. I don't care how. Make sure she doesn't get her hands on those ledgers. The silence was suffocating. Everyone knew the voice. It was Judge Gates. Jasmine let it play, then said softly, the real question is, who are you talking to, Your Honor? He exploded in anger, but it was too late. She slid another document forward, a transcript of a wiretap that matched the recording word for word. She turned to Officer Reynolds. Would you please read the highlighted section? The words hit like thunder, we'll take care of her if not. Crockett doesn't have anything solid yet, but if she does, I'll make sure it never sees a courtroom. The courtroom erupted. Gates tried to regain control. This hearing is over, he declared. But Jasmine stood. I wasn't asking for your permission. Then she gave a small nod. A door opened, and firm footsteps echoed. Judge Howard Gates, you are under arrest. Gasps erupted, cameras clicked, and reporters scrambled. 2 officers approached the bench. Handcuffs gleamed in the light. Gates tried to protest, but his words were hollow now. For the first time in his career, Judge Gates was powerless as the cuffs clicked shut. Jasmine remained seated, her expression unreadable. This wasn't triumph, it was justice. As the judge was escorted out, the developer, Charles Lawson, panicked. Wait. Wait. We can work something out. Jasmine stepped closer, calm and steady. You seem nervous, Mr. Lawson. Why might that be? He stammered. You don't seriously think Gates is guilty, do you? She paused, then asked, do you? The courtroom had changed. The corruption was exposed, but the trial wasn't over. Jasmine turned to the presiding judge's seat, now empty. To whoever takes over this case, I'd like to submit additional evidence. Because if we uncover this, there's more. She looked at Lawson one last time. So I'll ask again, do you want to talk? Lawson exhaled, his defenses crumbling. If I do, I want protection. Jasmine nodded. Then you'd better start talking. And with that, the real reckoning began. No one is above the law.